is so crazy.
This is crazy.
It's crazy. You made a joke that we were going to cry, and I already want to.
No, I'm looking at you like,
okay,
that's
don't look at
funny.
me. Look that way.
No, correct.
That's worse. Okay.
Hey everyone! We are so excited to be here. I'm super stoked to be here as a fellow Mississippian with the one and only Jenny Anderson. Jenny, I don't even know where to start. But I feel like maybe starting with like your life here in Mississippi, and then we can graduate into like what, where, how, why the book. But first, Mississippi. And Jenny.
I mean, I claim Mississippi. I was not born here, but I was raised here my whole life since I was like 3 months old, pretty much. But grew up kind of all over the state. But I claim Oxford as my hometown, even though technically it's not my hometown. But we moved here. I went to school here in Ole Miss, obviously, hotty toddy. And my parents moved quickly after that. After Hurricane Katrina, they moved up here, and they've been here ever since. So it's been 20 years. So I claim this sweet, lovely town. And Square Books and Off Square Books I've been coming to since before we moved here, so this feels insane to be here. But I grew up mainly in South Mississippi, kind of all over. We moved a lot, had a lot of homes, kind of, I don't know why, just sort of young and poor and trying to find our way. My parents were young, and it was the three of us for 10 years, and we just sort of wandered around. They were school teachers, both are retired. And
congratulations.
Yes, school teachers. And I don't know, I went to Forest County Agricultural High School in Brooklyn, Mississippi, which a lot of people don't know where that is, but I know, right? There's a Brooklyn, Mississippi. Everybody used to say from Brooklyn to Brooklyn, but I've never actually lived. I've never lived in Brooklyn, New York, unfortunately. But I grew up there for like from 8th grade to through high school. So my formative time was in Brooklyn, which is like about a half hour south of Hattiesburg, and. So that was my beginnings.
And like, when did photography start to become a part of your world? Was it in that time, or was it until you came to Ole Miss?
Probably like, I'd probably say like 10 or 11, maybe a little older, 12 or 13. My dad is an artist and an art teacher, and he shared photography books with me as a young person, and I just loved it and was enamored with it and thought it was so special, and I wanted to do it, but it wasn't really in my brain as like a job to be a career. I was like, people don't do this as a career. Totally. No one does it. I have to go to school and get 100%. A job. And
what was your job?
I wanted to be a doctor for a very long time, and since I was little.
Why are we laughing? Tell me about
that. No, I wanted to be a pediatrician because I loved kids and I was really good with kids, and I quickly discovered, and I did it. I went all through high school. I went to a vocational. I took a vocational class that was called Allied Health, and I graduated through that program. I could have been an LPN if I'd taken a test, and I went to a junior college and I did 2 semesters of pre-med. Like, I was on the path for it, and I quickly discovered that I was in the yearbook, and I was on the newspaper, and I was in the musicals, and I was in marching band, and I was like, okay, girl, clearly you want to be an artist and not a doctor. And I was pulling C's in my AP classes and not really going, and I discovered later that I wanted to be a TV doctor. I didn't want to be a real doctor. I wanted to be like this romanticized version of being a doctor. I'm a little older than you, so ER was that was my gateway drug to wanting to be a But once I got through junior college, marching band paid for my first 2 years of college, which was great, and I loved it.
What'd you play?
And, the saxophone for 9 years. I don't know if I could do it anymore, but I did for quite a while. And then I just was like, okay, I'm obviously all my attention and my love is towards the arts. Let's figure out what that is. And photography was still such a big part of it, but it was kind of all of art. And then my mom is a theater teacher. She also just retired. And theater was such a big part of my life since I was little, listening to cast albums and watching her in shows and being backstage with her, and me in some shows, but I wasn't quite, I wasn't good enough, but I also did not have the confidence for it either.
Sure.
But I wanted to be around it, and I knew I loved it, and I was like, I have to figure out how to be a part of this. And so I tried out for all the musicals, and I was in some of them, but I was like, this isn't it, but I got to figure out what it is. And then it wasn't until I got to Ole Miss and then changed my major to journalism. Because again, that was a little more practical than just being an art major or a photography major, because I didn't know where I wanted to put the art and the photography. So journalism kind of came and was, my mom likes to say I'm a writer. I'm not a writer. I like to write, but I discovered, Ole Miss has an incredible journalism department, and that year that I started, they had a brand new media center and an incredible staff of teachers, so it was kind of a no-brainer to go in that direction for me. And then I had great teachers, and some are here, which is so cool. Ellen Meacham has been like a mentor and a love of mine for so long, and so I just started, sort of married my two loves and my parents' loves together, and I was like, wait, I can take photos of theater? That's cool. And so when I got to Ole Miss, I like literally went to the theater department and I said, I want to take pictures of the theater department. Can I just come and do it? And thankfully the teachers said yes. And then I went to the media center and I was like, I want to be on the newspaper staff, and I particularly want to take photos of theater, and just kind of all came from there. And then I became the photo editor my senior year, and then I could really do what I wanted to do and take photos of what I wanted to take photos of. And my best friend, Zach, was the arts and life editor. So he would review the shows and I would take photos of the shows, and we were just like a little duo and it was awesome.
Reviewing the college shows.
Yeah,
iconic.
I know, right? It was, he got a reputation. He was harsh. He was a harsh
Jesse
critic.
Green?
He was very he was very that, but it was my way into that world too, because theater was my minor, but I wasn't not an actor, and so I didn't really take the acting classes. I took more of the like theater history and theater appreciation, like things like that. Yeah. And I took a theater directing class, and that was the first time I had to like direct theater students.
Tell people what to do.
Tell them what to do, and they're like in their third year of BFA, and they're like, girl, you don't know what you're talking about. But it was such a great place to be, and baptism by fire kind of thing. And but I took so many photos that last year and a half, and I stayed through both summers and covered as much as I could working for the paper and the yearbook, and so that's where it started.
Built up a lot of your portfolio.
Yes, I did.
To get yourself to the Big Apple. Yeah,
I moved to New York almost right after graduation. I graduated in the spring of 2007. Mm-hmm. Had to do summer school because I failed Spanish.
Oh, no.
So I had to finish Spanish, which was actually kind of a blessing because I got to be in Oxford a little longer, and then sort of also decide, like, am I really going to go to New York? Can I do that?
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
It's a big leap.
Like, my parents, we traveled a lot, and I know a lot about books and movies and history and art, and like I was very well versed in that world, but I hadn't been a lot of places outside of like the southern. So moving to New York was a big leap for sure, but I applied for every single job I could possibly apply for in every major city possible, because I knew that as much as I love the South and Mississippi specifically, that I probably had to get out of here to figure out, especially if it was going to be theater or Broadway or whatever. But I applied for jobs in every city, like Atlanta, Nashville, Chicago, LA, like everywhere. And I got one single job offer. I got a couple of internship offers, but they were all like not paid, and I couldn't do it.
Intern equals not paid.
That's what it was then. Now I don't think you have to pay. It's like illegal not to pay them.
Still not a lot.
Yeah, no, not a lot at all.
Not
but
enough.
I got a job offer over the phone with Circle Line Cruises. Yeah.
Circle Line makes me laugh because I used to live right near Circle Line.
Yeah,
and on 43rd and 10th. I know it well.
She's right there. She's still there.
Right
and
there.
You drive down the highway or up the highway, you see it. There it is. But it was to be a souvenir photographer to take photos of tourists before they got on the boat and took the boat around Manhattan. And the real kicker is I said yes to the job. They're like, if you can be here in 2 weeks, the job's yours. I was like, great. I sold my car. I packed 2 suitcases. Amazing. I bought a $94 one-way ticket to New York City. Swear, you can't do that. I just bought a one-way ticket to New York for this week. It is not $94 anymore.
I can second that.
Yeah. So I was like doing it. Great. I sold my car, did all of it. My parents were super supportive, and they're like, yeah, go. Good luck.
And so when you got there, what did you do? What did you?
Well, the crazy thing about the job is I got there, and thankfully I had one of my best friends was already living there. She had graduated. We had graduated together, so she had been there all summer and already established an apartment. I was like, great, I'll come stay with you until I find a place, and I'll start my job and make whatever money I can make, because I literally had like $700 in my bank account. Like, that's how much my life was worth when I sold everything I had, including my car. It was so like iconic. Not great, but it was still at a time where you could kind of do that. I don't know if you could do that now, but So I got to Circle Line and they were like, great, you'll be the salesperson. And I'm like, sorry, what now? And they're like, you'll stand and you'll make people, get in line and then you'll sell the photos after. I was like, but I want to take the photos.
I just want to take it.
I'm a photographer. They're like, no, you're new. You can't do that. And I was like,
you gotta work your way up.
So I didn't even take the photos. Did not take a single photo there. Not one. That's crazy. Because there were people who had worked there for a year or however long, and they were like, we have seniority. And I was like,
at the Circle
what
Line.
are we doing here?
Come on.
At the Circle Line. So I worked there for about 3 months. It felt like 3 years, truly,
Right.
because it was long days.
I'm
And it was
sure.
hot, and it was just
Right
awful.
on the
And
water.
tourists are lovely people.
So, a lot of patience.
A lot of patience. But I had that job, and I knew as soon as I got there, that got me there. But I was going to do everything I could to get the job I was there for, which was to be a Broadway photographer. That was the goal. And I did have my little book of my photos that I had taken backstage at Ole Miss, literally in a physical book, like a 3-ring binder, like a little 22-year-old Southern girl, just like knew
I'm ready
nothing
for
about
the job,
nothing.
New York City.
Truly,
Yeah,
that's what it
correct.
felt like. And the first week I was there was a job posting on Craigslist. I know, very weird.
What?
And an apartment listing. There were two. There was an apartment listing and a job listing. And the job listing was to be the photo intern at Broadway.com. And I was like, this is literally me. Like I'd been looking at Broadway.com all through mostly college, a little bit in high school, but I was like, this is my Bible. Like this is where I need to be. So I applied for the job, and I went in there with my little book. And I think my former boss still remember, he said, you were wearing like a polka dot shirt and you were so happy. And I was like, oh God, just green as can be. But and the job, the interview went well, I think, but then I heard nothing, like crickets for like 2 weeks. I was like, no, this is my job. I emailed him, I called him, Paul Ontoric, which you know very well.
Dear friend Paul.
Yep. And Broadway.com is silly. There's
I know.
There's
So
a lot
for
of
everyone here who
connection.
doesn't know what Broadway.com is, I didn't know what Broadway.com was. I grew up here in Oxford, and I feel like I didn't grow up here in Oxford. I grew up in Batesville, but I moved to Oxford in the 9th grade, and that's when I was like really introduced to theater, was through Jordan Davenport and all the greatness that he does at that school. And I now have done a couple of Broadway shows, and on my most recent Broadway show, I was asked to do something called the Broadway.com vlogs. I had no idea what Broadway.com was. I had no clue. So I was like, what is this even about? Turns out there's like an entire archive of like super awesome Broadway stars, like videoing them backstage and taking you on their first like Tony's performance or whatever, like all of this like inside scoop type stuff about Broadway available to you on this platform called Broadway.com. So it's literally you.
Was it Find Your Roxy?
Yes, and Broadway.com was like this person who initiated the idea of the search for Roxy, which is how I made my Broadway debut. So it's the circles are crossing here with Jenny Anderson. The circle lines are crossing.
That was terrible.
But so
I stalked him like a crazy person.
Like a sweet Southern girl.
Well, I just was like, I'm here to do this thing, and I have limited money and limited time, and like this is why I'm here. So I just sort of went after him and emailed him and called him, and I was like, hi, it's me again. But he got back to me and was like, I'm so sorry, I've been on vacation. I was like, oh shit, sorry. My bad.
Don't listen to the last voicemail.
But he was, but he saw that I was tenacious and obviously was super passionate about this. And so I got the internship, and I was an intern for 6 months, and then the photo editor left to be an actor. Naturally.
As most of us do.
And I quickly, sort of took his job. I became full time, but I still was like, brand new to the world. And I don't think I was making photo editor money, but I got sort of thrown into it very quickly. And then, the rest, as they say,
is history.
And for 6 years, I was there for 6 years, which was an incredible beginning. And that's where I met everyone, like actors and producers and press people, and so that's what set the stage for the rest of the career. In those 6 years, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those 6 years.
So shout out to Broadway.com.
Truly, it really did. It was like the biggest stepping stone ever. Yeah. So, and a lot of the photos that are in the book are from those 6 years.
That's what I was going to ask. When was, because Okay, my first question is, what were the types of jobs you were doing like initially? Because we know from glancing at the book that it's giving backstage, but was backstage like an option when you first came in?
I mean, that was my personal goal, because I literally at Ole Miss, they were doing Streetcar Named Desire, and I was like, I went to my friends who I knew were in the show. I didn't go to the professors, but I went to my friends. I was like, I want to come backstage and take photos. I'll get permission, but like, would y'all be into that? And of course, theater kids are like, yes, please come take our photo.
That's like literally a dream come
And
true.
I was already friends with them because we had classes together, and so I was sort of already getting into the group. And so the first backstage photo I ever took was of my friend Haley Strode, and she was like putting pin curls in her hair, and I was like, oh, this is it. This is the one. Oh, uh-oh. I was like, I felt emotional for a second. It was, I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I want to do. And I think it's what I always loved, even seeing my mom do shows and me being a part of it, was being backstage and being with everyone in the community. So I was like, I want to take these photos. And those photos exist. I didn't create it by any means. There's photographers who've been doing it for years. There's this incredible photographer named Rivka who did it for several years, and Martha Swope back in the 70s. And so I had these women that were already doing it, but it kind of wasn't happening when I got to Broadway.com, really. And Broadway.com and all these websites that were starting around that time were just starting to do more online editorial content of Broadway. I feel like theater had such a small window into it, unless you were famous and you didn't get stories told about you or magazine articles or anything like that. So Broadway.com started doing that when I got there.
So
and I
cool.
went to Paul, and I had them in my book. And I went to Paul and I said, this is what I want to do for Broadway. Can we do that?
Yeah.
And the permissions then are a little different than they are now. Like, you could not be there after half hour, which is like 30 minutes before the show starts. You could, and it's union rules. It's all these rules for crew members and things for safety and stuff like that. So in the early days, it was, again, thankful to Broadway.com that they had the access and they already had a bit of the clout of who they were.
The relationships and the ability to, you know this guy. And
the first one I ever did, I think it was my first full year at Broadway.com. So it would have been in towards like, I think May of 2008. And it was Laura Benanti.
Should we find it?
Yeah, let's find it.
I'll try to thumb through. Please keep listening.
I should know the pages of things. I don't.
No.
I usually have to look in the back of the
I'm
index.
like, let me look at
where's
the
stuff?
index.
Laura Benanti and Gypsy, and that was my first. And she had just won the Tony, I think, like the week before. And so
Were you so scared?
You know what? I don't even remember. I'm sure I was incredibly nervous. I still get nervous, like, constantly when I'm going into a job. So there she is. And the coolest thing about this is, so if you know Gypsy at all, in the beginning she plays a little girl, kind of, like she's like in her teens. And then she grows up, obviously, to be a young woman. But in the beginning, she's in like pigtails and overalls, and Paul, I think this was Paul's idea. He's like, I really want you to photograph her, like,
the grown-up
arc,
version.
or the arc into it. So I went before the show. And stayed until half hour, I guess, and then got kicked out. And then they let me come back at intermission, which I don't think they've ever really allowed people to do that before. And that's that photo, was like the 10 minutes in intermission where she, like, zhuzhes up a little bit and then goes back out. Yeah. So I think I was terrified. I mean, I walked in, I was like 23, and I was like, you're Laura Benanti, and you just won a Tony, and
I'm obsessed
what
with
am
your
I
work.
doing here?
Correct.
And then that was the beginning, and then I kept doing it for Broadway.com for those whole 6 years, like and it became like a feature, and I don't want to claim it, but it became my feature with Broadway.com, and then it sort of became Broadway.com's thing that we did, because no other websites were really doing it. Now they're all doing it.
And now everyone sees Jenny because she's that girl.
So for 6 years, yes, it was with them. And then post that, when I left and to become a freelancer, I was like, well, I don't want to stop doing that. How do I keep doing it?
Yeah.
And luckily, I'd become, a name in our community and in our business, and I would just ask to go. I was like, in the future, I want these photos to go somewhere. I want them maybe to be an exhibition, maybe a book, I don't know. And then I like had it in my head, but I was like, that's gonna be, I don't know. When I'm like 60 years old wanting to retire from this life, maybe I'll have a book. And then it kept happening, like through these last 12 years of being a freelancer. People were allowing me to do it on my own, and then producers would hire me to do it because that was a way they wanted to market their shows, and then they would take those photos sometimes and give them to other other websites or other magazines or things like that. So I just kept doing it, and it wasn't until I guess 2019 that the book and things started coming into play.
Okay, and so I am curious about who was like the person who pushed you out of the nest to make you go like, all right, make a book, girl.
Well,
we want to see it.
Honestly, I mean, the book is always in the back of my head for sure, but Ellen, who I spoke about earlier, Ellen Meacham approached me, I think in early 2019, maybe 2018. I was like, we want you to do an exhibition at the Ford Center. We'd love, because they put them up in the lobby during their season.
So cool.
And I was like, of my like Southern work, of like, they're like, no, theater, obviously.
So cool.
I was like, oh, sure, yeah, I think I have stuff.
I can pull some things out of my little
But
binder.
then I was like, oh, well, this is a moment to actually cultivate not a narrative, but like a specific group of photos, like not just all over the place, like pick a topic,
like a
pick
brand
a theme.
Almost. Yeah.
And I was like, well, backstage is what it is. And so that really forced me to sit down in front of my computer and go through everything. And of the last of that time, I guess it was like 12, 13 years. Yeah. And so I culled it down to about, I think 50 photos. And I think Ford Center was like, we want 30. And I was like, oh, okay.
No, perfect.
So I think Ford Center ended up being close to like 40, 45. And I did it, I printed them all and framed them all and drove them. Actually, I drove them. Did I drive them all the way down? I can't remember what I did. I know I met my dad halfway at one point. And, but yeah, and put them up in, which was incredible. So I had my first exhibition here in Oxford, on campus, so like in the Ford Center. It was just all this full circle.
Very full circle line cruises.
Yeah. That's just what I'm going to continue to say now.
Wait, okay, I want to know how on earth did you pick? Is it like picking your favorite child?
Yeah, truly. I don't have a child, but yes,
same.
that's why probably.
But I mean, all of them are so gorgeous, and they all have their own. Like I was thumbing through your delicious book before I came here, and they're just all from different years, different types of performances, different. There are some repeat like places, but not repeat shows. Like, how did you decide which ones? Let's start with just the Ford exhibition.
I think, those 6 years of Broadway.com, I had those in my head already because they had been published and had been online. So I knew which ones of those were my favorites or the ones that maybe got more attention than others. So those were kind of already in my head. And then honestly, throughout the years, I was not a terrible archivist, and I did keep things in correct folders, and I did have a book folder.
A manifesting
I had a
book
folder.
I
really did.
Love it.
I think it was called Future Book, which is, I think that's the first time I actually said that in an interview because I kind of forgot about it.
Wait, that's so cool.
And it just sat on my desktop, so anytime I would, because I did start doing that in my freelance life of asking actors and producers, if our publicists, if I could come to shows. And so I had it in my head, well, this one, if I do a book, this one from this group will be in it, so whatever. So Ford Center was a little easier to decide.
Sure.
And then when the book came around, they're like, we want 100. So I had to kind of go back. But I had just gone through it for the exhibition, so I kind of already had them in my head, and I knew which shows that I had shot. So it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. It was a little, I look back now and there are a few where I was like, I wish this one was in there, or I wish maybe that one wasn't and another one was.
It's okay,
but
it just means you have to do another book.
That's the hope.
Just have to do a book too.
And I had an editor who was a big help with that.
Awesome. Wow, how did you meet your editor?
So the process of the exhibition happened, and once I was posting about it and talking about it, I had a lot of people in New York being like, Mississippi, we're not going down there. Can you bring it up here? I was like, well, I was like, I don't know. How do I get it to New York? Like, you have to have a place. I have to have someone who wants to put it up in that place. Like, and I was very lucky that I have a lot of connections in the Broadway world, obviously. And I had a friend who said, one of my best friends is newly the creative director of, and I just forgot the name
and
of
I wasn't there.
Thank you, Mom. The Waldorf Astoria. I knew Mom was going to say it if I looked at her. I was like, say it. The Waldorf Astoria, which is obviously the iconic hotel there. And at the moment, they were renovating half of it, and the other half was kind of it was already turned into this beautiful apartment and like lobby area to basically you go to this place and they want to sell you an apartment to the Waldorf in the future when they have apartments in a few years once they finish renovating it. Yeah, if you're looking for an apartment at Waldorf Astoria.
That sounds amazing.
She said, but to do what we like to do is have events in this space. Would you be willing to do a photo show? And I was like, yes. So it really worked. And I didn't know this at the time, but the very first Tony Awards happened at the Waldorf Astoria. And I had no idea. So the connection was so cool. And so that's when my dad drove all of my photos up halfway, and I met him.
Shout out to Dad.
And got my photos and put them up there. And then the goal for me, once it was at the Waldorf, was to get people in there that would be like, this should be a book.
Yeah.
And I had an offer from a man that just came, and he's like, I want to sign you. And I was like, great. Who are you? What's your?
Who are you?
So I looked more into that, and I hired a lawyer and did the whole thing. And he was like, let's look at other stuff. And I was like, okay, great. So my lawyer he shopped it around for about a year.
Awesome.
And which is crazy. That's not really what lawyers do, but he's very much he's a Broadway lawyer. He's a lawyer for Broadway shows.
Yes, we have our own lawyers.
Yeah. Broadway shows have their own lawyers. It's crazy.
It's amazing.
So he really believed in it and me, thankfully, and he shopped it around. And he's like, I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but one of my really good friends that I went to theater camp with is a literary agent.
I love
was
it.
like, well, sure.
Of course.
So I got on the phone with this literary agent, and by the end of the call, she was like, well, I want to do it. I want to sign you. And I was like, okay, is that how that works? We just did it? We literally on a phone call. This is going to sound like bougier than I mean it to. I was on vacation in Mexico.
Incredible. You're sipping a pina colada you want to sign me?
Let's do it, girl.
That's incredible.
That sounds way cooler than I have ever been, but no, they were just like, we want to meet tomorrow, and I was like, oh, I'm in Mexico, and I'm like, yes, sounds good. I will.
You're like,
I will
flights
drop all
out
things.
of here.
Yeah. So, but we took a call in my hotel room, and by the end of the call, she was like, I love this. I think it's beautiful. Let's do it. And I'm like, okay. And what they do from there is they basically make a pitch. Not a pitch deck, because that's a little more editorial, but they do a 7-page PDF pitching my book to publishers, and they lay out photos, and something cool that we were able to do is get quotes from people who would possibly either be in the book or in the in my community. And so I had 10 people in the Broadway community say lovely, ridiculous things about me, which was really nice. And
because they're true.
and then that got pitched to about 30 publishers, and
crazy.
2 were like, we're interested. And obviously we went with one of them. And there we
wow, it's kind of like auditioning for colleges, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, auditioning in general, that's what it felt like.
Yeah, you go through so many people and only one
and
or two come out.
And this is name droppy, but Simon & Schuster was very interested, but they had a very strong idea of they wanted a narrative, they wanted a written part, they wanted it to be more storytelling, and I really, really didn't want that. I wanted the photos to be the story, and again, I didn't write anything along the way, which was probably something I should have done, but I didn't. So I only really have the stories that are in my head, and that stuff it's in my head. So I didn't know how truthful that would be to just come up with these stories and write them in a book and
But also I feel like it gives the reader the chance to be like, oh my God, I wonder what they were just saying. Or oh my God, this moment is so fierce. Even just talking about this, what is that? Do you know, doesn't that look absolutely captivating and you just want to pick it up? It's Glenn Close. She looks so fierce in this kimono. And she's got her sunglasses in an elevator.
Yeah, do you actually want to know?
Yes, Rachel, please tell us, Rachel, please. Her name's
so she was in Sunset Boulevard.
Just had the revival, not that version, different version.
So she did the original on Broadway.
She's not cool.
And then she revived it again in 2010.
That's so cool.
2010, I think.
She did it once, and she did it again.
And then she's like, I'm going to do it again. And I'm like, okay, girl. So this was the revival of it in 2010. And I may be saying the year wrong, but it's in there.
I was like, we can look.
And it was in the Old Palace Theater, and which now has since been fully renovated and jacked up 50 stories in the sky. So it doesn't even exist anymore.
It's crazy.
But then it was really old, iconic theater, and they had elevators in down because basically the backstage was down under the ground, and the stage was above ground.
2017.
So all the other 2017. Oh, it's a little earlier than I thought.
A little recently.
Recent than I thought. So I was backstage to take the photos of the whole show, not just her. So she was like, she can come when I'm fully in makeup, and we're like, yeah, girl, whatever you need, whatever you want me to do.
I love it.
So, and once she was ready for me to walk into her dressing room, I went in and I was like, oh, it was close. And she was like, and she was doing her
Were you
thing,
scared?
finishing up. I just a little nervy because she's Glenn Close. And I want to, and also I knew I had a limited amount of time with her. So I wanted to make sure it was, I got what I needed to get. And she was lovely and she did her thing, got in her makeup. She had her sweet little dog. And I don't know, I was in there for like 2 minutes. And then she was like, do you think you got it? And I was like, yep, sure, whatever you think.
No problem. I'll get out of here.
So I left, and I left, and I thought that was it. I'm done with her. That was my moment, and I was happy with what I got, but it was very quick. And then her dresser came running after me, and she said, Glenn would like for you to stand right here and wait for her exit. And I was like, okay, sounds great. So she sort of like directed this.
So cool.
And she's like, so she comes out of her dressing room in full, I don't know if you know about Sunset Boulevard, but it's Norma Desmond, who is like this iconic actress. So this iconic actress playing an iconic actress. And she walks out of her dressing room in full Norma with her sunglasses on and holding her, as you said, kimono to the side. And she goes into the elevator, which that's what takes her to the stage, takes her to the deck of the backstage. And so she gets in the elevator, she turns around, she takes off her glasses, and I'm like, and then the doors go, boom, and then the elevator doors close, because her dresser is like behind there pushing the button, and that's it's closing, and she's like,
cinematic.
Yeah, but the best part of it is, so then I thought I was for real done. I'm like, okay, this was it, this was my moment, and like, I'm so happy with what I got.
Cool.
I went all the way downstairs, which was like 6 floors down, which is where the ensemble and everyone are. And she's up on stage now. And I hear from the basement, photographer. And I was like, and then the publicist goes, that's you. I was like, sure. And it was Glenn saying it. Glenn was yelling, photographer. So instead of waiting on this rickety elevator, I run up 6 flights of stairs. And just in the darkness of the stage, I see her hand. And she's like, come with me. And I'm like, okay. I'm like heavily breathing. And she's like, I thought it would be good if you came with me to get my entrance onto the stage. And I was like,
100%.
For sure, that sounds great. And so there's another elevator on the stage that takes her to her entrance, which is at the top of this staircase. The staircase is where she enters into the show. So we get in this teeny tiny elevator. It's like me and her dresser, and I'm just like trying to take her, and it's like dark. I got some cool shots, and she goes, she's like, I'm gonna go out, and then the light's gonna hit me, and she's like, and that's your shot. And I was like, you got it, girl.
She's been around long enough to know the shot.
Honestly, it was amazing because like when they want me there, when they appreciate that I'm there, like I don't set up shots. I don't tell them to do things. I try to be as candid as possible. But like if she, like, direct me, girl, tell me where to go.
I'll be wherever you need me to be. Okay.
And I got incredible shots from it. So that was my Glenn moment.
That's incredible.
And I just recently, I was at the Tony Awards.
The Tony Awards.
I shoot the Tony Awards. I was backstage at the Tony Awards, and I had yet to see her, or she gave me the go-ahead to put it on the book. Like my lawyer went to her lawyer. It was a whole thing. Like, I'm not kidding.
Very Broadway.
Again, this is a sentence I never thought I would say. Her lawyer and my lawyer at the same firm. So silly. But it was true, and that's how we got her, and she okayed it and signed off on it. And so she knows she's on the cover, but like, we hadn't chat about it. And but the book was out by the Tonys and had been out since April, and I had it with me, and I was like, if I see her, I will speak to her about it. I don't know that I'll,
do too much.
But prior to that, I mailed one to her house because her lawyer gave me her address.
Shout out to the lawyer. Thank you.
I mailed one to her home with a letter and just said thank you, blah, blah, blah. And so she mailed me back a handwritten note with her Glenn Close, stationery.
Gorgeous.
Like the loveliest, most wonderful letter of all time. It wasn't even just like, thanks, this is beautiful. It was like, well thought out, like just a wonderful response. And so when I saw her at the Tonys, I was still so nervous and like a little kid. And I went up to her and was like, hi, Glenn, I'm Jenny Anderson. Your photo is on the cover of my book. She's like, oh my God. Like once I finally got to the book.
Right.
And she was so lovely. And
oh my gosh.
we hugged. And
Everybody says nice things about you.
Well, that's
Did you frame it? I have to know.
I haven't yet, but it's in between 2 books right now. I didn't even need to make that joke, but it is actually in between.
In between of 2 books.
Yeah. But I will one day, very soon I need to frame it.
You also have a delicious foreword by Ariana DeBose, and I'm curious about what y'all's relationship is like, and like why were you like, oh yeah, girly, can you do this for me?
Ari and I have known each other since the early days of me being in New York and her being in New York. So that's what's really special about this book too, is like a lot of people that are in the book, we sort of started around the same time in New York. Yeah. Obviously other people like Glenn and Kelly O'Hara and Sutton Foster, they were already like these
established and
yes,
like have had part of their career mostly done.
Yeah, so but when I got there were all these young, 20-year-olds that were just starting, making their Broadway debuts, and I was lucky enough to be a part of those, like Jonathan Groff and Ariana DeBose and Adrienne Warren and
cool.
Ashley Park, all these people who are now like winning Oscars and Tonys. And
huge superstars.
I just got to be a part, kind of along parallel with them as we were growing up. And
yeah.
Ari, I've known her since her Broadway debut. I've known her since Hamilton, and we're friends outside of me taking photos of her. And because I have chronicled her career.
Oh, correct.
There we go. But because I've done that, I've got to know her really well, and I really wanted a woman to write it too, and that was important to me. And she was just absolutely the right fit, and it also helped that she had just won an Oscar, so that wasn't a bad thing. So
definitely,
and she's just wonderful human and lovely, and we've been close. And I was there with her the day she won her Oscar. I took photos of her in her hotel room, and so she's taken me along for all of her big moments, and so it was obviously natural to take her along on my big moment too.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm checking the time only because
I have
feel
no idea. I've been talking a lot.
Oh my God, it's 7 o'clock.
Look at us. We talked for 30 minutes.
We're nailing it.
I talked for 30 minutes.
And I feel like I'm supposed to maybe offer this opportunity to take a question from the audience, a question or two. 712. Yes? Yeah, tell me.
Hey.
I think you took some pictures of my dance company.
I know.
Martha Swope, amazing dancer.
Yeah, incredible.
But the question is, are you trying to be a fly on the wall? What is your approach backstage in your relationship with the people you're photographing?
Yeah, I mean, in the early days when I was like, young and terrified, I was like, don't talk to them, just like stay in the corner. And I do want to be a fly on the wall because I want these moments to be organic and special, and I don't want to interrupt their flow. Because the reason I want to capture these photos is because it's things you don't get to see. You don't get to see what they're doing prior to a show. Mm-hmm. And Broadway theater especially is very, like, they all have rituals and things they do every night, and it's really because they're doing the same show every night, so they have to make it fun and different and exciting every night. But also they have rituals that they personally do to get into character. So I don't want to disrupt that at all. Now I've been doing this for 18 years, and I know people when I go in the room for the most part. I am taking photos of people I've maybe never taken photos of before, but I kind of have an idea of who they are, they have an idea of who I am. So the relationship has sort of changed, and there are times where I'm now like, we have to stop talking because I have to work, and because we're like hanging out and having fun. But I do my best to kind of stay in the corner, because I'll walk in there sometimes and they're like, what do you want me to do? And I was like, I want you to do what you do. Like, don't change anything for me. And I have started in the past, I would say like 5 or 6 years, asking people, like, stand there for a second and I will take a photo of you, like, maybe not in character, but they're fully in costume, and I would just want to capture more of a portrait. So yeah, I try to, a little bit of both, but mostly try not to make myself known too much.
I think it's like, it's this gorgeous like parallel of what you described about being able to be the kid that's in your mom's dressing room watching her do her thing, to now that you're like the grown up with the job watching the professional do their thing. Like, it's the lens of like admiration and so much respect, but also like you're also a part of it. Like you are that girl in the Broadway community. It's so fierce.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Hi.
Wonderful, beautiful work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Why black and white?
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, wow. I've just always loved black and white, and that's the photography that I fell in love with when I was a kid. The books that my dad gave me were like Dorothea Lange and Margaret Burke White, and Dora Welty also was a photographer, even though she's a writer, but she was also a photographer. So those are the photos I fell in love with, and that's how I learned to be a photographer, was taking photos of my rural life around me. So like my dad on the porch, or my granddaddy on a tractor, or my Mimi in the garden. Like, those were the things that I loved. So I feel like I take that part of my knowledge and and take photos of Broadway in the same way as a journalist. And then I was a journalism major, so I was a journalist for a time. And I still feel like a journalist. It's obviously not as much as it would be if I were working for a newspaper, but because I can manipulate a little bit more of my surroundings. And I also just think black and white's prettier. I actually had someone tell me recently, or during my exhibition, he was like, gosh, I feel like black and white photography, you cannot hide anything. It tells the entire story. I was like, that's so fascinating, because I feel like if I take a color photo that I don't like, I'm like, great, let's turn it black and white, it'll look so much better. So I feel like I hide behind black and white a lot, but I'm glad to know that that's not how other people see it, that they feel like they see more of it. But just also, I just gravitate towards it more. Thank you.
Gorgeous.
That was a good question.
Yes, there.
Yeah, I had a question for both of you.
Ellen Meacham in the house.
Thank you, Ellen.
So I have a question for both of you.
Okay.
Because you're on either sides of the camera.
Yeah.
And so what strikes me about Jenny's work is how she's able to draw out, like, there's like, almost like the people's soul. You can almost see a snapshot of their soul for a moment, beyond just what they look like. And so I know some of that is probably shot choice, but how is it to be on the other side for Emma, on the other side of the camera? What do you see Jenny doing that makes it special, puts people at their ease so she can get those shots? And then Jenny, what do you think makes your shots so personal?
Yeah.
Like, there's just this personality that comes through. And I think that's why the people you shoot love you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You want to answer that first?
I sure do.
Yeah, go.
Okay, so I have had the privilege of having Jenny Anderson shoot me on my Broadway debut. It was like almost like my last week or my closing night or something. And actually, Angela has this beautiful, you could just show the back. That is one of the photos that Jenny Anderson took of me on my closing night. It's her like leaving the dressing room and I'm like, bye, see ya. And I remember, first of all, being so nervous to reach out.
Oh my gosh.
I like cold DM'd her like, hey, you probably have no idea who I am, but I'm a fellow Mississippian and I'm doing this thing. Can you come over here, please? It would be a great honor if you took photos of me, a fellow Mississippi girl. And of course, Jenny was the nicest person of all
I took
time.
your sister senior photos.
No, literally, you're like, I know who you are,
I know
girl.
you are.
Relax. But I think like, I'm gonna make this like a Mississippi thing. We are the hospitality state, and I think that so much of what Jenny brings into a room is the warmth of like a Southern hug, or like seeing someone across the street that you don't know and giving them a smile, because you want them to know that you have their back if they ever needed to ask for directions or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
For sure.
There's not a piece of like your Southern love and care and empathy and hospitality that you shy away from. Like, even though you like to be the fly on the wall, like Jenny does not disappear in the room. Like, you feel her presence, and it's warm and it's welcoming and it's super comfortable. It feels like a sister or a best friend. Like, it's just, that's your girl on the side just capturing some cute moments of you, and it doesn't make you feel like you have to put on anything inauthentic, which I think is what makes everyone's souls come through your photos. It's like, you're just a delight to be around. If you get the book,
Emma.
you'll see everyone say basically that on the back.
Yeah, and I will say something similar is, I think in the early days, for sure, leaning on my Southern charm, but not leaning on it sounds like I'm putting it on. I don't mean to. It's real, it's honest, and truthful. Yeah. And I love theater so much. I love it so much. Like, I'm such a theater nerd, and I've loved it for so long, and it's been such a big part of my life that being in those rooms is so special, and I am so honored that they are letting me into these very special, sacred places that they don't let a lot of people into. And so I want to be the most respectful, and I'm still a theater nerd. Like, I've been doing it 18 years and I'm still geek out about it all the time. I don't think it's lost on me at all. And I mean, every now and then I'll find myself saying something. I was like, okay, girl, that was a little jaded.
Let's
Maybe
reel
not
it
be
in.
that. But I feel like I am not. I'm like the least jaded in my community. And so I really try to make that and getting your photo taken is kind of, it's invasive and it's weird, and unless you're controlling it, like, and I don't like my photo taken, I really don't, and I've tried to be better about it because I looked back in my college life and I'm like, I'm not in any of these, I took them all. So I do try to relax and let people take photos, But I know that it doesn't, even actors, you may think actors love to be the center of attention. They don't always in that way. They do if they're putting on a show and they're playing a character.
I was gonna say.
But a lot of times they're nervous too, and they're just like, there's a camera. And celebrity too. They're like, I'm allowing another photographer to take my photo,
Yeah.
So I'm just there to make sure they're comfortable and at ease. And then if I can pull out this soulfulness, as you say, then that's like the ultimate honor. So, yeah.
Just you being in the room does it.
Oh my gosh. Thanks.
Yes.
Do you feel like your opportunities for what got you to this point came from other opportunities, or did you have like a backup plan? Like, what was your thought process?
I had no backup plan.
Literally not.
That's a great question. I think for so long I was like, I loved photography and I was good at it in the beginning. Like I have a good eye. Like I know it looks good. My dad always said that I have great composition skills. So that part was there. I didn't always have the confidence to be like, this is gonna be my career. So I didn't really fight for it in that way. So in the beginning it was just for fun and it was just a hobby and I enjoyed it and loved it. And then when I obviously got to the point where I'm like, okay, you clearly want to do this to be a bigger part of your life because it's all you're doing and it's all you're thinking about. So I started making those paths for myself and I went to the media center because I knew that's where I needed to be. I knew that was where my opportunity would be to be a photographer instead of just doing it on my own. And I'm so glad I went to the school that I went to and I had the professors I had because that's what set it up. And then, but I tend to ask if I want something. Like if I want to be in a room, I will ask to be in there. Even now, even being in this job as long as I've been in, I literally sent an email last week and I was like, I want to be on Ragtime because I love that show so much. Please let me be on Ragtime. And so I'm still asking for the things I want. And I'm getting asks as well now at this point, but I still make sure that I am going to, I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but like ask for the room I want to be in.
Heck yeah.
And then if I get the no, it's always a bummer and I lick my wounds for a couple of days and then I ask again until, I get a yes. So I do think a lot of, and then any downtime, like when I was in school, it was the same way, but after Christmas, like during that intermission, I had an internship at the Clarion Ledger in Jackson between Christmas and January because I was like, I need to utilize all the time I have. And back then they really pushed for internships. I don't know if that's still a thing, but so I just am always, and I just can't sit still. I'm like a crazy person. Like during COVID, I was like, what am I gonna do? Because Broadway shut down for a year and a half. Like a lot of people went back to work, but for a year and a half there was no theater. And that, again, not having a backup plan, I was like, what am I gonna do? So I 30 days, again, licked my wounds a little bit because it was sad and scary and we didn't know what was going on. And then I was like, I have to take a picture or I'm gonna go nuts. So I just started reaching out to my theater people and I was like, can we get on Zoom and can I take a photo of you? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then it became this project that I was obsessed with and I took 150 of them. I'm a little bit of a workaholic, I think. But I also discovered something in myself that I didn't feel bad about being a workaholic because I love it so much and I wasn't neglecting anyone and I mean maybe myself, but but yeah, I think I feel like the opportunities that I've gotten, I have tried to make them happen for myself, and then I've also had great people to say yes on the other end. But
do you think the yes comes from your experience at this point? What was like?
I think now, for sure, especially in the Broadway space, and I think I've made a little bit of a name for myself, so people recognize my name and recognize my work, and so I think I do get, but I still get plenty of no's, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, I get so, and I try not to get like a little uppity about I know. I'm like, really? And also, I'll say in a post-COVID world, the landscape has changed so much in New York, especially, and in Broadway, there's so many more photographers because now people don't have photographers who work at their companies anymore. It's all freelance. Yeah. So I feel like I'm swimming upstream through these much younger. Now I'm on the other side. I'm not the 22-year-old girl who's like, I'll do anything for anything. And now I'm like, I'm not doing that unless you pay me. So it's a little different, but I also think it's good. I try to foster those relationships with those younger people too, because I'm like, they deserve those jobs just as much as I do, and I will get the job that I'm supposed to have. So I don't know if I answered your question. I kind of circled it a little bit, but.
That was good. Yes.
Hi.
You talked about how you first started off with like Ole Miss Theater, and that was your introduction.
Started what? I'm so sorry.
Ole Miss Theater.
Oh, Miss Theater. Yeah.
That
Sorry.
was like your introduction
Yeah.
photography. Is that something that you would go back to as like a special edition, or is that something that you're happy with when you
In
did
a
it
second.
after?
You mean like go to Ole Miss and do something? Oh my God, I would
Oh.
love it. I actually mentioned this to Ellen, I think recently, where I said, I think we should have our senior class that graduated in 2007 come back and do a special DM. Because the Daily Mississippian, when I was in school, was in fact daily. It was
Every day.
every single day. We put out a paper Monday through Friday. We would work all night, like 2, 3 in the morning, and then I'd have to get up and go to class. And sometimes I didn't always make it, and especially my photography class. I took one photography class in college, and it was photojournalism, and it was at 8 a.m. on a Friday,
Tough.
which was so rude. And so I would like either show up late or not come, and I'd like throw on a stack of papers and be like, "Here is my assignment." But oh my gosh, in a second, that would be so great. I would love to do something like that. Let's do it. What was your name? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm Sophia.
Sophia, nice
out,
to meet you.
Sophia.
Are you at Ole Miss?
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of us actually are here.
Oh, amazing. Ah, yeah. Howdy toddy. That's so awesome. Is that what you meant? Like, would I come back? Is that what you meant? Or
But
do?
also, was
Yeah.
it just something that you're okay leaving, like, as when you were just like fresh? Is that something you're okay with, like, moving forward without doing it ever again, or is, like, as you move on to bigger and?
Oh, gosh. No. I mean, I know exactly where I came from and who got me here and helped me get here. And I would never, like the Ole Miss and the theater department and the journalism department is, like, I still say to this day it's the hardest I've ever worked. I truly think so. Like, because we had a full load of classes, plus we put out the paper, and we loved it so much. And we were covering real stuff, like really hard-hitting stories, and not to get like sad and deep. I was just talking to my mom about this. Like after Katrina, we went down to New Orleans, and I took photos of them rescuing animals. And then while we were down there, unfortunately, a police officer was killed here in Ole Miss, and we came back to cover that, and I covered his funeral and I covered his trial. Like and we were like, I was 21, I was 20 covering these stories, but man, what a beginning that was to learn all of that and at such a young age, and learn the work ethic and just, I don't know. Yeah, I would in a second, and I love it so much. I'm glad that that's where my career started. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I think we're nearing the end, so does anyone have any last burning questions? Yes.
Hey, Jenny.
Hey, Desert.
If you had your own opening night on Broadway,
Oh my gosh.
celebrating your book and,
Yeah.
your career,
Yeah.
who would you want to see on the front row?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I kind of sort of did, Justin. I had actually a really amazing book party that I feel unpacking, because so many people showed up for me, so many people in the book, so many people that have been a part of my career, and it was unbelievable. And my parents and all of my friends from down here and from all over the country came. So I feel like I kind of got to have that, and all the people that I would have wanted there were there. And but if I'm being, I don't know. That's so crazy. That's a crazy question that I feel like I should have a better answer for. But
Maybe some time to
I don't know.
meditate and think.
Like someone famous that I just want to see. I don't know, Kate Winslet.
Cheers.
That's such a
Blink
random
close.
thing, because I've never taken her photo, and I want to take her photo so bad. And she's never been on Broadway, and she's never even come to a Broadway show that I've been a part of. And I'm like, hey girl,
Some
I'm
emails
just putting
to
it
be
out
sent.
there.
Yeah. If you're watching this.
Say again.
For your memoir.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
Nice word, thank you. Yeah, are we done?
I think we did it. Thank you all so much
Wait,
for coming.
I want to take a picture of this. Is that okay?
Everybody-
I'm sorry.
Don't move.
Hold on.
Jenny's gonna
I
take
should
a
have had it
photo.
ready. I didn't have it ready. Oh, it's not in that bag. I'll just do it with my phone. I thought I had my camera.
Do you want them smiling or natural?
You can smile if you want.
Hey,
I just
everybody
wanna-
smile.
I just want to see everybody. Ah!
Okay.
This camera is getting my waist. Sorry. Hello. Yay. Thank you.